Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Welcome to Socrates, Garrett Live. We're coming to you from Jackson, Mississippi, way down deep in the South, down in Mississippi where the air is just a little bit cleaner and the grass just a little bit greener. Mississippi has less than 3 million people in the entire state. You can go from days and days and days and not see anyone in Mississippi. There are still parts of Mississippi that have not been explored. Come down south. We need all of our talent to return home. All of the African Americans that migrated to the north and to the west need to come home. We need that talent. We have a brain drain in Mississippi, and we need you to return. Our capital city has been pretty much abandoned, and we need everybody to focus on how we revitalize it, bring it back, and make it better than it has ever been in the past. And we can only do that with effective African-American leadership. That brings me to our show tonight. We have an opportunity to talk with a legend in Mississippi and other parts of the world, a gentleman that has risen to heights that very few African-Americans get a chance to obtain. An individual that has proven that he can navigate through racism and bigotry and still achieve. an individual that had more than 23 McDonald's that he owned and operated right here in the Deep South. And Lord knows if he can do that in the South, in Mississippi, just think what he could have done in Los Angeles. My guest tonight is Leroy Walker. Brother Walker, welcome to Socrates Garrett Live.
Thank you again, Mr. Garrett. It's always a joy to sit and visit with you and talk about the changes that needs to occur in our state, in our city, in our nation, as well as our county. We do have a lot of work to do. We got many issues that have been just unexplored, and we really need to begin to have that dialogue and shape that agenda in terms of where do we go from here.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, and there's so much to talk about, so we're going to jump right in. Now, the verdict on the George Floyd trial came in this afternoon, and it's my understanding that he was found guilty on all 3 counts. What does that mean to African Americans throughout the world when to see a guilty verdict like that?
Well, I think that African Americans across the globe have been able to see justice being served and not being denied. A lot of individuals were concerned about the overall content of what the jury was going to hear, how it was going to be shaped, and how they were going to walk away from that. But the jury was balanced to a certain degree. Had 6 white, 4 African Americans, and 2 multicultural individuals that was on the jury. And they, in turn, made their decision based on what they had seen. I do have to say to you, Mr. Garrett, that the young lady who took the picture of the incident totally, where the officer had his knee on the neck of Mr. Floyd, really sent home a verdict for that entire family, because they could not deny what they had seen with their own eyes. And that's the kind of thing that we need to make sure that we all begin to understand, that people of all races and color are really, in my opinion, not bad people, but we have got to do a better job of making sure that they understand what needs to be done in terms of deliverables for people of color. And once we get that done, I think that we'll be better off. But the verdict was resounding in all 3 counts that they had. It was guilty, and in another, what they said, 2 months, they're going to be making a decision on the sentencing.
Well, do you think something like that could happen in Jackson, Mississippi, Brother Walker?
Well, in Jackson, Mississippi, it's going to be sort of difficult, only because of the fact that you got 78% African Americans, and you're going to have to find, a niche to make sure it's balanced, if that's what you're looking for, a balance in that particular ruling. But in the case of Jackson, Mississippi, a lot of incidents are going unexplored. In other words, they're not being closed out like they should. A lot of evidence have been tainted. And there are some things that we really need to do a better job of in Jackson. And once we do that and begin to have that dialogue even more so with the police department and the investigators and intelligence, I think that we'll be much better off.
Well, I know that the South is looked upon as backwards and is looked upon as full of racist people, deep red state, racism abounds, fight to get the flag down, the last state to take the flag down. But Brother Walker, do you think that Mississippi is more racist, say, than in Minnesota and Baltimore? Do you think we got a bigger problem, or we just label more racist? I
think you label more racist in Mississippi. There are a lot of good individuals in Mississippi, Mr. Garrett. There are a lot of people that want to see the balance. We just have not created the kind of environment where we can have that conversation. We're not seated at the table where you can have that kind of dialogue with other individuals about where do you go from here. You and I had gone through that with the Chamber of Commerce in terms of, Mr. Garrett, why is it that X, an African-American man, cannot get the same kind of deal that Y, a white contractor could? And then we had to work to see what could we do to make a match pair kind of relationship where it would be balanced, where it would be a win-win for both. And subsequently, that African-American or minority company would be able to emerge into a position where they'd be able to stand alone as a primary, which is what we got to do. We have not built that, Mr. Garrett, like we should. We have not had that conversation like we should, and we have not done a good job from a workforce development standpoint, Mr. Garrett, in terms of getting people workforce ready, including communities, because I heard you in your initial conversation. You indicated that there are less than 3 million people in the state of Mississippi, and you could walk from one place to the other and not run into anybody. But at the end of the day, if you want to attract industry to Mississippi, you're going to have to take care of the infrastructure. You're going to have to take care of the broadband. You're going to have to take care of making sure that the workforce is definitely ready in order for them to be able to get the jobs that you need. Then you can go out and woo companies to come to Mississippi. We have not done a good job of that. The agenda has not been formulated like we should, and we just don't have that conversation as we should.
We're last in almost everything, and so there's a reason for that. We got all of the resources. We got beautiful weather. We got climate. We got fertile soil, but we're last in everything, Mr. Walker. I just don't understand how you remain last in every category that's good and first in every category that's bad. And I want you to kind of help me understand what kind of leadership causes this to happen in our state, in Mississippi.
Well, it's really unconscionable for anybody to want to always remain in that position of being last. You don't want to do that as an elected official. You want to do everything you can to allow your community, your state to ascend to a higher height. The development of that state should be improved, and we should be doing a better job. But at the end of the day, Mr. Garrett, I do hear it everywhere I go. Education.
Mr. Walker, we're going to come right back and continue that conversation. We're getting ready to go to a commercial. So to our worldwide audience, listen up.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.
Mr. Walker, we're going to continue that conversation, that dialogue, but I really want to dig a little deeper, because we're last. We're one of 12 states that denied the Medicaid expansion in the entire country. we got the most unhealthy people. Well, there's not a lot of us, but we're tremendously unhealthy, and we're poor. And Mr. Walker, you know, I have to ask you, because you are a prominent individual in the community, and the community needs leadership to make a difference. And I know you serve on the bank board at Trustmark for a long time, and I know you are on many boards throughout this city, Energy Board, and been the past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Chamber, and you know, I told you one day when we were in the chamber meeting, and one of the white members offered up a prayer, and he said, "Dear God, please bless our leader, Leroy Walker." And my eyes popped open, because I could not fathom that a white man was saying, "God, please protect this black man." And so you've been able to navigate and move into these circles. And so you have the ear of white folk, and you serve on the Hines County Economic Development Board. Have you been able to make any inroads?
Well, Mr. Garrett, I think that is still work in progress. Yes, we have been able to make some inroads. There are times when conversation will come up about individuals who are African American in our community, and I will definitely raise my hand and say that we need to rethink our ability to work with this particular individual. But the one thing that I have to say to you, as well as your listening audience, whenever you help an individual, make absolutely sure that that individual understands that the next person that you help is going to be measured by whether or not that person succeeded. Because sometimes people come back and say, "Well, Mr. Walker, you made a recommendation for Mr. Garrett to get this, but you see what Mr. Garrett did, so I'm not going to do this for Mr. Bolden over there," then over it the other way. But at the same time, Mr. Garrett, yes, I see it. Yes, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club of Jackson. I'm president presently of the Jackson Rotary Club, which is the largest civic club in Mississippi. We're having Senator Roger Wicker, I mentioned to you, coming May 3rd to speak to the group. It's going to be packed. We're going to be talking about infrastructure. I want to be able to bend his ear and talk a little bit about minority contractors and how they can have an opportunity. But see, if we're not sitting at the table where we can have that relationship and have that conversation continually, Mr. Garrett, you got to do that. You got to continue to have it, and you just cannot not be mentored by somebody who has that skill set. And
what do you say to the folk that think that we'd be better off in our own black city or black everything, black-run county, black-run city, black-run school board, black-run airports? What do you say to the fact that even when we achieve those things, we don't seem to see progress in our community? How does that happen?
We have seen that and heard that over and over again. Typically, when you go to a black city, the black individuals who are in that city who have been able to ascend to a position of leadership, the mayor, the city supervisor, the county supervisor, the sheriff, the police department. So you get all these black folks that are leading, but at the end of the day, is that the element that's going to help you turn the corner economically? And I'm saying to you, the one thing that we're leaving out, we're putting the political thing on the table, which is absolutely good, but the economics is not on the table. Mr. Garrett, it takes capital to run a capital city. We got a lot of issues in our city of which we need capital to come to the table in order for us to be able to fix some of the ills. And all of the ills did not just emanate from one particular administration. This is handed down from administration to administration to administration. And I know you had the former Mayor Harvey Johnson on, and I know he was able to give you a very, very good graphic of the kinds of things that he had gone through and the kinds of things that he had done. But at the end of the day, it's still, we were lacking in a lot of areas, from a health despair, from a infrastructure, from an education standpoint. I'm saying the same figures exist time after time after time. And it's mistakes that we make, Mr. Garrett. It's mistakes that we make, and we have got to do a better job of this. The whole thing about Medicaid, I am very, very disappointed with our Governor Tate Reeves as it relates to not pushing this particular venue forward. There are over 330,000 people in the state of Mississippi who really need Medicaid. Medicaid would not just be for black folks. So I want you to know, of the 3 million people in the state of Mississippi, the majority of them are not black, just for the record. And the majority of them are not on Medicaid. There are a lot of people that don't look like you or I that's on Medicaid that really need it. And the Medicaid would definitely help the community. It would help the community for the hospitals that are closing. You got hospitals in small towns, Mr. Garrett, that are going bankrupt. Hospitals in small towns that are now not able to service the people that they need to because they can't hire the individuals that they need to service them. So it's a concern big time as it relates to not having those additional dollars. And one of the things that I did understand from talking to the people economically that the Governor Reed was concerned about the state of Mississippi having had to pay a bigger piece to be a part of this scenario. But then when you dig deeper, as you said, Mr. Walker, we got to do a deeper dive. When you do a deeper dive, Congress has allowed for us not to have to pay anything back. So it's 100% going to the state of Mississippi, and I think it's over a 2-year period of time. What governor would not want 330,000 people in his state to receive health care from the benefits of the federal government? And you say, why is that occurring? I think it's because of a group that's called ALEC. ALEC. That's the ones that sends money to elected officials, politicians, and tell them how to govern their state. And that's the kind of thing that I feel. Now, I may be totally wrong. I may be off base, but I'm not too far off, Mr. Garrett, because it's all about money, because I can't see no other reason why a representative from a poor county, from a poor district, would not allocate dollars that are necessary to help 330,000 people in the state of Mississippi. And then you ask me, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Well, the child can't go to school because the parent is sick. They got to stay home and take care of grandmama. So the child is not getting. You got broadband, Mr. Garrett, that is not in every county in the state of Mississippi, Mr. Garrett. Why is that? We have not explored what needs to be done. There are some things that they're putting in place now, which is going to help. But look, we're already 10 yards behind the starting block, and you expected me to finish first.
Well, I would say to you that the governor of Mississippi would say that he is not a racist. Tate Reeves would say that emphatically that he is not a racist. So why then, what could it be that causes southern state, 12 of them, to deny their folk the opportunity to have better health? I mean, what could it be if it's not racism? What could cause that?
Well, Mr. Garrett, you have to dig into the inner soul of the individual themselves. In my opinion, and I know Tate Reeves. You and I have been seated in his office, and we've talked to him about things that we want to do to help workforce development. You and I were there. Commitments were made to us. Obviously, they weren't written, but they were made to us to make changes. But in my opinion, the governor has a small heart. He does not have a big heart at all. I
think the attorney in the closing arguments with the George Floyd case said that the George Floyd had a big heart and his killer had a small heart.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying to you. The killer in Mississippi has a small heart. That's all I'm saying. Because right now I have not seen where the governor has been able to seat and talk to individuals about the things that would be positive for our state. 3 million people. It should be 6 million people. We should have industry flourishing everywhere, and it should be able to benefit everybody, black, white, blue, brown, anybody. Let them all come. We got plenty of space. We don't have a whole lot of traffic. And Mr. Garrett, when you get me on the roll, Mr. Garrett, you asked me that.
Point. We're going to break.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection. giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.
Mr. Walker, we're back. I want to continue, but, I want to ask you a couple more questions because our community needs to hear. Our community has lost hope, and there's no vision for things to get better. Mr. Walker, black folk are killing each other in the streets at a rate that we've never witnessed before in the history of this country. And then we're killing each other in the boardrooms from an economic standpoint, because we're not doing the kinds of things that's necessary to move the needle economically. And it's so much poverty in our community until now, individuals will just kill you for little or nothing. We've lost hope as a people, Mr. Walker. How do you see us turning this around?
Well, Mr. Garrett, it's going to be a strategic process, a plan of action that has to be put in place to address the deficiencies that exist in your community. You're absolutely right. I am terribly upset about the number of murders, the number of homicides, the number of killings that is occurring in our community. I see too many mothers on TV at 6 o'clock in the evening that are crying about the loss of their son, loss of their daughter or their child. We see people still carjacking. We see individuals that are just roaming the streets, and we see dope still running rampant in our community. And there has to be a strategic model that we put in place to address this. And you're going to be able to address it all at one time. But at the end of the day, Mr. Garrett, I contend to every individual of worth that is listening to this particular live stream that until you are able to get jobs for individuals who are less fortunate, individuals who do not have the skill set, individuals that really want to do something. The majority of the young men that I mentor, Mr. Garrett, and I got 138 young men that I do mentor, the majority of those young men want a better life for themselves, but they want to know, how is it that I can get to that position? Mr. Garrett, we got about 500,000 young men in our state that really need to sit down and have that kind of conversation. We have not pulled that button. We have not mashed that button. We have not pulled that particular strategy and let it come to fruition. I contend to you that if you give a young man a job, he's not going to have time to be worrying about carjacking or murdering or things like that. I want him so tired at 6 o'clock in the evening when he get off, he want to go home and go to bed. So the next morning he gets up and then he makes a decent wage. And then show him how to balance a checkbook. Show him how to invest, Mr. Garrett. Show him how to make his money work in the community. Show him what it means to recirculate your money in your community as opposed to taking your money outside of the community and buying something. They spend money they ain't got, buying things they don't need to impress folks that they don't even like. So we're gonna have to work. We're gonna have to work on that particular philosophy.
Mr. Walker, I know there was a draft that was going around trying to get you to run for mayor this past year and during this election cycle, and you chose not to do that. Can you share with us what influenced your decisions?
Well, your family, number one. If you don't have your wife behind you, Mr. Garrett, ain't no sense in you even thinking about running. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, are you better off doing things behind the scenes and better off trying to deal with relationships that you do have with the legislative branch of the city government or the county government or the state government? Are you better off with trying to say something that's going to cure some of the ills as opposed to up there trying to be the champion, trying to be the drum major altogether? So some things that I see right now in my heart that I do know is going to come to fruition, and it's going to come to fruition very, very soon. And I'm hoping to use that model, and that model will be able to be cascaded over into other models that other communities in the state of Mississippi can duplicate. One size don't fit all, but if we can cure this education and workforce development, economic development piece, community development piece, housing piece. Mr. Garrett, we have so many houses that are deplorable in our community. Why is it that we can't get a team of 75 young men and go around and just fix houses? Why is it we can't do a nonprofit that would help us, like the same thing that they do with, other deals that they have? Like I think Ronnie Crew them have a very, very good model that they're doing as well. I'm saying we need to do more of that. The 100 Black Men of Jackson, for example. We need to make sure that we have one of our pillars is economic development. One of our pillars is education and health and wellness and those kind of things. We need to make sure we begin talking about that. How is it that we can merge into that particular arena and get people off of the street, which is what I want to do, Mr. Garrett. We got to give them hope. Mr. Garrett, we just had an election, and I guess maybe 15 to 17,000 people voted. You got 171,000 people in the city of Jackson, Mr. Garrett. Why is it that we don't have the gravitas, if you will, to go and vote? I mean, have you just given up that? So I'm saying to you, the same thing that we did when you and I started the 100 Black Men of Jackson. We got to make absolutely sure that we have some successes. Successes build success. People want to gravitate when you're succeeding. Whenever you're succeeding, they want to be there with you 100%. And I think that that's something we need to do, Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Walker, I went to dinner a couple of days ago over at Oysters on the Half Shell in Pearl, Mississippi. Maybe Flowood. Flowood, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And I was driving around. It's absolutely beautiful out there.
Yes, it is.
Every brand name store in America was there.
That's true.
Streets were clean.
Streets.
No potholes.
Yes, sir.
None of that.
Yes, sir.
Blacks and whites.
Yes, sir.
And when I come back to Jackson, it's a whole different feeling. And it has nothing to do with black leadership in totality. It has to do with the fact that white leadership has abandoned the city. And they don't have to come back to Jackson anymore. And I believe the strategy is just to let us fall and completely succumb to the low economics that we have in our city.
So you're suggesting that we hit rock bottom and then somebody else will come in and just take it over?
Well, they've done that before in other areas, St. Louis, Detroit, we Chicago. We've seen that gentrification issue arise time and time again, but only after tremendous pain and suffering endures, and then a tremendous black mark on black leadership. You have people talking about the possibility of a white being elected for mayor in Jackson in an 85% black city, mm-hmm. Like they did in Gary, Indiana.
Like they did in Memphis, Tennessee.
So I think it's a strategic plan in place.
There may be, and those are the hidden agendas that you and I are not a privy to, just for the record. But at the end of the day, Mr. Garrett, Floyd, Pearl, Brandon, Clinton, all of those surrounding bedroom communities, Madison, all of those communities were able to flourish as a result of the numbers that they generate from the city of Jackson. For example, if you attract an industry to come into your domain, they want to know what's the workforce development population. How many people are able to come? So if they know they need 2,500 people, you're not going to get 2,500 people from Flowood. You're not going to get that number, right? You're going to get that from Jackson. So the Central Mississippi Planning and Development Group pulls those statistics together and get with MDA, Mississippi Development Authority, and they get their notes and they pull them together and say, we could capitalize on this and we could use the numbers from the city of Jackson. The city of Jackson numbers have always been the caveat through which you're able to get that economic boost in a community.
Mr. Walker, we're going to stay with you. The information is just critically important to our community. But we're getting ready to go to our break, our commercial break. We really enjoy the listening and viewing audience that join us each and every Tuesday at 7:30. I want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.
Brother Walker, we're back. I want to shift gears just a little bit. I feel like we're losing ground a lot, and we've lost some champions here recently. And I know a couple individuals that I just want to talk about briefly about what they meant to the city. And one of those individuals was a very, very close friend of yours, a past city council person and a leader in this community and state, Frank Blunson. Could you tell us a little bit about him and let the world know exactly what kind of person he was?
Well, Frank Blunson, I called him Big Daddy. I called him Big Daddy because he and I would sit and visit at his home and talk about the things that we can do collectively together to improve our community. He was a champion for the downtrodden. He was a champion for those who were disenfranchised. He was a champion for the senior citizens. He was a champion for education. He was a champion for economic development. He was an all-around, vigilant kind of individual who, in my opinion, and I said it to his son last Sunday on a talk show called Straight Talk that Frank did bring. I told him, let my work speak for me. And Frank Blunson definitely was a soldier in God's army that was doing God's work in this community. I'm talking about we would stand out on the street when it was cold, Mr. Garrett, and collect canned goods and collect dollars from individuals going in and out of the stores to assist the senior citizen, and he would feed 500 citizens across not just Hinds County but also across the state of Mississippi. He would definitely make sure that happened, and as a result of, unfortunately, his son Craig Blunson had passed, and he named it the Craig Blunson Christmas Giveaway, which was really nice. His wife, who preceded him in death, Juanita Blunson, excellent individual. She volunteered. I was seated on the board of St. Dominic Hospital, and she was one of the volunteers at St. Dominic Hospital. I just saw that they had a volunteer giving spirit, and I see the same thing in her son, as well as in Frank's son, as well as his daughter. And I'm very, very proud to call Frank Blunson my friend, my brother. He's going to be thoroughly missed, but his memories in my heart will never be forgotten. We talked a lot, Mr. Garrett, about the educational arena and the 100 Black Men of Jackson. You and I would invite him to the scholarship banquet, and obviously we would let the children put on the actual program, and we would not allow them to read from any paper. And he was just so excited to know, did you have a teleprompter up there? You know, he didn't call it teleprompter. He didn't know what it was. But I told him, I said, no, Mr. Blunson, we make them study and read that by memory. And that's the kind of thing that I see that we're getting away from in our school system. We're going to have to do more of that, and more African American men are going to have to begin to go into the school system and talk to the students, because they need to see, in my opinion, successful men such as yourself, and begin to talk to them about the ethics of the American society and what it is to achieve those goals. So Frank Blunson is a godsend. He was a godsend. He's an individual that we all love and respect, and we got a lot of calls from individuals talking about how he worked, how hard he worked. He used to be a referee on the football field, and it was countless stories. And you know, as a young man is seated around the table with older gentlemen and listen to them talk about the things that they went through. You know, not just racism, Mr. Garrett, I'm talking about, but also economic things in terms of what they did to help each other. Frank Blunson would reach out and help a person and bring him forward. He would lend them opportunities to ascend to higher heights, and I'm very, very proud of his statue.
Well, I think you guys have done an outstanding job of representing Mr. Blunson. I know that he had been ill for quite some time, and you stepped in to carry on his show for him and to carry on his legacy. And I know each Sunday you would always speak of, you know, that you're standing here representing in the shoes of Frank Blunson. And it's a nice thing to see when African-American men respect and look up and hold up other African-American men. We don't have enough of that today.
Well, he had a very, very good cause, and the mission is very, very admirable. It's something that I think that others need to do. I personally did not like having to have to do it every Sunday, Mr. Garrett, every Sunday for 2 hours. But at the end of the day, he really wanted me to be a part of that scenario. And I think it's something that happened on one particular show when someone called in and made reference to the fact that you shouldn't have this Caucasian person on there. And I said to that person, and without Frank even knowing that Frank was there that particular day, I said, at Straight Talk, we allow individuals of all races and all colors to come and talk about issues and talk about their position, and whether we agree or disagree, what we want to do is begin to flush out and have a relationship with those individuals. And if you want to change their mind, change their heart, this is something that you're going to have to work on yourself and change your own heart. And a lot of times, Mr. Garrett, we as African Americans need to look in the mirror. Because sometimes from what I have seen and some of the people that I've talked to, we're more racist, Mr. Garrett, than some of the white folks that I've seen in our community.
Wow. Well, you know, we probably have a good reason for being racist based upon the experiences that African Americans have had. I mean, it's a real damaging history that we just have not been able to get over it. And more than often, we're falling backwards as opposed to pulling ourselves up.
Well, why do you think that is? And part of your scenario, your thesis, your theorem is absolutely apropos. But at the end of the day, Mr. Garrett, God gave you a brain. You went to Alcorn State University. You finished and you have a mindset and you have an economic development platform and you can do a lot of things. We are not, as African American men, doing all that we can do. We're too tired. We're too tired. You cannot get tired. You cannot let yourself down. You're going to have to pick yourself up and you're going to have to make yourself available. Like for today. There's some other things that I could do, but if I have an opportunity to say something on your live stream that's going to help someone, then yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. But at the end of the day, I want, if we can, if you can help somebody along the way, with a song or praise, then your living has not been in vain.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
But you would admit that there are a lot of knees on people's neck that still exists here today, and black knees and white knees are on a lot of necks. I
am the one that will sign up and endorse your theorem that there are both black knees and white knees on people's neck. Jealousy still exists, Mr. Garrett, in our community, and we have got to get away from I got mine, he got to get his on his own. We have got to begin to work together as a people. We're not doing that, Mr. Garrett, and it's unfortunate that selfishness really exists in our community because we should not be selfish people. I'm proud to see you achieve. And I think that you're proud to see me achieve.
Absolutely. And
you and I will stand up and applaud anywhere about our ability to do things. But for some strange reason, we have very, very narrow-minded individuals with what I told you was small hearts that do not have the appetite to do right by individuals.
Well, we're going to go to break in a minute, and I really want to get into the economic plight. I know that you have spent a lot of time and money trying to revitalize Jackson, specifically with the Metro Center, the largest mall in the state of Mississippi for a long, long time, may still be, space-wise, may still be that. Mm-hmm. And your efforts have not been successful in getting that done. And there are some things and some lessons that have to be taught so that others won't give up along the way. Right. And so when we come back from the break, I want to get into that as well as the stimulus issues that we're seeing here today. But I want you to stay tuned with us. We're going to a break, and we'll be right back with Mr. Leroy Walker.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.
Mr. Walker, we're back, and I want to get inside of the kinds of obstacles and things that you ran into trying to revitalize Jackson, both at Ferry Street and both at the Metro Center Mall. And listening audience, Ferry Street is the historic African-American district in Mississippi, where African-Americans just flourished and thrived for years and years before integration. And the Metro Center Mall is the largest mall in the state of Mississippi. And Mr. Walker, I know you and your team attempted to bring those two venues back. What happened?
Well, part of the issue with Ferris Street is that the infrastructure was not connected. We were unaware of that when we began. We had gone and talked to several entities that were interested in coming to Jackson and revitalizing Ferris Street. We had talked to B.B. King with his organization. We had talked to individuals that were looking at a grill, a sports grill that was going to be there, as well as a new chicken grill that they were going to put on Ferris Street. Then we were looking at some monumental pieces that they were going to put on that strip. And for some strange reason, the amount of money that was allocated, Mr. Garrett, from the Mississippi Development Authority through Central Mississippi Planning and Development, and those particular dollars went toward that particular project. That did not come from the city of Jackson.
The city didn't put any money into it?
The city of Jackson put $0 in trying to revitalize Ferris Street. Now, they may have with another administration, but when we got on board with David Watkins and a couple of the individuals, we were under the impression that we were going to be able to get new market tax credits. We were under the impression we were going to get historical tax credits. And whenever you get historical tax credits, Mr. Garrett, whenever you fabricate or rebuild the entity, it has to be just like it was back in the 1800s. So we had that particular conundrum that we had to deal with as well. So overall, we were able to get $1 million up, which was not enough to connect everything that we need to connect, and we were not able to get the kind of buy-in from the state of Mississippi to do any more. The banking industry was concerned about the viability of us being able to make that happen, so it sort of fizzled by the wayside. We would need roughly $9 million in order to revitalize Ferris Street. And if you got a pro forma that could demonstrate that you could do that, provided that you got the capital up front, I'm saying with the new market tax credits, I'm saying with the historical dollars, then you match that with whatever dollars you're going to put in there, then you'll be able to make that happen.
Well, I was under the impression that the Jackson Redevelopment Authority was your partner in that deal and actually put money into the redevelopment of Ferry Street.
Well, I'm under the impression that Jackson Redevelopment Authority don't have any money at all. So you're telling me something new. The Jackson Redevelopment Authority was supposed to be the monitoring entity that monitored whether or not we were going to use the dollars for what we say we were going to use it for, which we did. Otherwise, Mr. Garrett, we'd be in jail right now. Wow. Because they don't play in the games as it relates to that kind of federal money. And then it had something to do with HUD. Housing and Urban Development, and not being able to hit the targets that you're supposed to in the city of Jackson. So HUD pulled back from the city of Jackson as well. So we had a lot of dilemmas from that. So then we transcended and went over to the Metro Center Mall. Metro Center Mall, we looked at the Belt Building. The Belt Building was a retail entity that sold clothing. So we wanted to fabricate it because we knew that mall concept was going away. So we were going to look at getting offices to move in there. So we were able to craft with the city of Jackson a particular structure where we would charge them $8.42 a square foot. Which
$8.42.
$8.42 a square foot now.
That's as low as I've ever heard of.
Well, I've heard some other gentlemen in our community that say you should have got $15 a square foot. If we did, Mr. Garrett, we would have been able to do a whole lot more, but the city did not have the appetite to move anywhere beyond $8.42 per square foot for 20 years. And at the end, Mr. Garrett, of the 20-year period, that particular spot that they have, the 60,000 square feet, reverts back to the city for $1. So So that I've never seen a deal like that. This was the kind of partnership that we pulled together to try to get the city to buy into the workforce development piece. We get people to come out there to the Metro Center Mall where there's traffic, where there's foot traffic, where there's automobiles. Then you will see a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Hardee's, a Taco Bell. You will see them coming up. You will see banks that want to come out there because you got people that are coming in that area for a reason. And when they come out there for a reason, then they would gravitate to that. So at the end of the day, Mr. Garrett, we had altogether 240,000 square feet, 60,000 square feet went to the city. We got another 180,000 square feet that we need to lease out. So we were looking at leasing out the other 180,000 square feet for workforce development.
Right. I know that Howard Ketchens is one of your business partners, and I know I partner with you as well. But the inability to get tenants into the 240,000 square feet that's owned by African American men. Now, I don't care where you are in the world. I probably can go into Detroit, I can go into Los Angeles, but you're not going to find African Americans owning 240,000 square foot of space, prime real estate, but yet can't get a tenant. Leroy, you were not able to get a tenant from the state, the county, the school district. I don't see where anyone assisted in trying to bring that back. And you did put that space back on the tax roll.
Yes.
And I believe it's over $100,000 a year that you put.
$110,000 a year in taxes.
That you put back into the city.
That's correct.
And trying to bring that area back to life.
That's correct. That's right.
Are you frustrated about that?
I'm very frustrated because we have placed a lot of our retirement money, a lot of our money that we had saved up to make it work because we believe in the process. The other piece that's important to me is I believe that if we were able to get the Workforce Development Center up and running, that we were going to be able to have Nissan and Mercedes and Toyota to bring some of their technicians down here with their equipment, and we would be able to train people. When I was in school, Socrates, there was a distributive education, and you don't know anything about that. That was before your time. But distributive education is where a young man in the 11th and 12th grade would be able to go and work auto mechanics. He would work on cars. He would change tires. He would be looking at fixing brakes. He would be looking at fan belts. He would be changing oil and those kind of things. That's the kind of thing that I wanted to see them get into because I saw the amount of money that a person could make as a result of being that kind. And then you got people like B.J. Bryant, who is in the HVAC business, where I see a lot of money being generated from individuals who are working on heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. And that kind of thing needs to occur. Welding, truck driving. I'm saying all of those kind of things. We were going to train our community. We were going to get 750 young men in our community and get them into this workforce development process. We went to the governor. We talked to the governor about that. He indicated that he would help us with a bond. The bond would have to be paid back, through which we always have done. We got a bond with the city of Jackson, and we are paying on that even today. And we would pay on the bond for the city in order for us to get it at a lower interest rate. And we would in turn begin to work with Hines Community College or any other community entity that want to get workforce development up and running. They would do the training, we would provide the space, we would do the bill out, and we would take care of the parking lot and all those other things, Mr. Garrett. But it just had not come to fruition. We still have it in our vision and our sights. We've gone to Jackson Public Schools to get them to look at the space that we do have where they could consolidate some of the offices that they have, Mr. Garrett. We've also gone to the driver's license facility. We met with the commissioner, the new commissioner for the driver's license facility. Mr. Garrett, we have done a lot to try to get it done.
Mr. Walker, we're going to have you back because that kind of investment and that kind of effort cannot fail. Our community and our leaders cannot let that fail. So we'll get you back very soon to continue our conversation. This has been Socrates Garrett Live. Enjoy your evening.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.